Hi and welcome back to another video of JPlay. And yes, I'm playing the first game I brought from Essen. That's Pirates of Maracaibo, designed by Alexander Pfister, but it seems it's also co-designed by Ryan Hendrickson and Ralph Binet, and yeah, published through Games Up and or DLP Games. The game luckily comes with a solo mode, and this time I already tried it out. Isn't that lovely? Typically I'm using you as guinea pigs, more or less getting me through solo mode. Not saying I'm playing this game flawlessly or that I know what I'm doing here, but at least in respect to the rules, I think I have a good handle and I'm overall know what is coming. Unfortunately, I only played it once against Jordan, the AI player, and I played it on the easiest difficulty level and went down like a fly basically. So he literally mopped the floor with me. This time I even, increased the difficulty level by basically adding one more card, not really adding and exchanging a card from the AI deck. So there are A cards and B cards. Usually the deck always consists of 6 cards, and the more B cards you have in that deck, the more difficult the game will be, and I decided to add one of those into that. So let's see how things go. You are seeing a lot of icons and overall iconography that will definitely remind you of the original Maracaibo. Apart from that, I think it's a very unique game on its own. Yes, there are some, let's call it, similarities. For example, this exploration here, and yes, in this game we are also sailing towards Maracaibo, which will then ultimately trigger the end of a given round. But I think apart from that, it's a very unique game on its own. So it's no expansion. I think there is one tiny little component which you can add to Maracaibo, from what I can tell. Never tried it, but apart from that, again, it's a game on its own. What I really like about this, let's call it, latest installment of Maracaibo is that we are dealing with a very, let's call it, somewhat random setup of the game board. So you're not always sailing around the same islands. Yes, you will see all the locations like Curacao here, or what do we have here, Montserrat or Aruba. All these nice and fancy locations which you know from Sid Meier's Pirates, for example. No, the layout of the, let's call it, Caribbean here is very, very random each time you play the game. And the game even comes with different, let's say, starting setups. So when you see these treasure islands here, so there are at least 2 more proposals or recommendations how you can set up the map of the Caribbean depending on your liking. And the rules even say you can do that in theory completely random if you at least adhere to, let's say, the amount of columns and rows here, for example. So every time you play the game, you will have a completely or somewhat completely different layout of, let's say, the locations and equipment cards that are coming out, which I really do like about this game. Overall, again, we are sailing with our ships from the left side of the Caribbean here to Maracaibo on the exploration board here, and the first player to get there, like in the normal Maracaibo, will basically end the round. And we do some very, very minor, let's call it, administration, where you collect some of your income also, which it's kind of similar, but then again it is not, because I think the amount of income that you get is definitely much reduced here, and overall the playing time is definitely highly reduced compared to it. Let's call it bigger brother Maracaibo. We do that 3 times, and at the end of 3 rounds we see who has the most amount of victory points, and then is being declared a winner. I am the blue player, and this is basically my pirate ship. Right now I don't have any upgrades whatsoever. This is my personal hideout board where I can, let's say, find treasures, bury treasures. I have one of these, I think, objective cards here. You get 2 at the start of the game, and then you have to pick one of those. And this one basically means you get awarded 3 victory points at the end of the game if you manage to get 3 of these equipment upgrades here, or 7 points if you manage to get 5. So this is somewhat of an early goal, a goal in the game. We are also dealing with these black market tiles up here. They're double-sided, and similar to, let's call it Great Western Trail, you more or less shuffle them and every player has their own set of, or the same set of black market tiles available to them. We are not using them in the solo mode, not for the solo player, that is Jordan, but we are allowed to use them, and those are the ones that we have. I will not go into much detail, but for the most part they give you additional victory points, and every now and then you will be able to place them onto the map. Similar to in the bigger brother Maracaibo, where you're placing, I think, your assistants or so into these different ports. Those are somewhat similar to that mechanic. As usual, I will explain you the rules as I go, and I think we are more or less good to go here. What will happen is you have to move between 1 to 3 spaces on the, let's call it, map board. These treasure islands are more or less out of bounds. You cannot sail onto those, you cannot sail over those. They're simply here right now to set the layout of the Caribbean, of the map, and they're having this victory point track, which is also somewhat similar to the tracks that we have in Maracaibo, but there is around your influence in the different nations. Here it's basically what each of those treasure types are worth. So here we have the, I think it's the emeralds, for example. Depending on where we are on this track, each emerald that you collected throughout the game is worth more or less points. We have the same for gold, and on the top right we also have pearls. But yeah, we have to move 1 to 3 spaces, and a move is basically one. We are moving onto the map. We can also start here. We are coming basically from one of those. Again, we cannot start on this treasure island here, and then we have to move over adjacent. We always have to move closer to the port of Maracaibo. So let's say we would be here. We cannot simply move one space down here, because then we wouldn't progress the game. So we always have to move at least one column closer to the port of Maracaibo. And now we have to basically make a call what we want to achieve with our very first action. The actual player is always first, and Jordan will be always last, at least at the start of the game. So we have different kind of cards out here. Here we have these residences. They give you victory points at the end of the game. I think right now, let's not worry about those too much, and they cost too much anyway. We only start the game with 10 doubloons. These cost 18 here. Here we have equipment cards. They come in 3 different things. So we have the normal equipments, we have crew cards, we have ship upgrades, and again, because of our objective card here, we want those boxes here. So this is something worth considering. And then we also have those locations here, which also allow us to do extra stuff, and usually they always also give you ship upgrades, which obviously is never a bad thing. So I guess for our very first action, we want to work towards our objective card here, which means we are moving 1, 2 spaces, always adjacent, so we have to share at least one edge here. And then we can do something with that card. If we don't want, so this is an equipment card we want to buy, or we can buy. If we don't want to buy that card, we can always opt out and say, no, we are not buying the card, therefore we would gain 5 doubloons. In this case, I think we are going to spend 5 coins. And where do I have the coins? I actually forgot to set those up. So here we are. I now have set it up. We are spending 5 in order to buy this card. Again, it costs 5. It gives us 6 victory points at the end of the game. And like in Maracaibo, these red things are ongoing abilities. So every card that we are basically buying, that also counts for those residences here. We get a discount of 2. So that's already a great start. It's 6 victory points. I mean, nothing to sneeze at. Of course, we now have an ugly hole in the Caribbean. That can't be. Therefore, we have a huge level 2 pile of cards. We are bringing out a new one, and this seems to be a cabin boy. So let's place it here. Of course, again, we can't buy the cabin boy. It gives us an upgrade. Basically, it only comes with a one-time ability, but it comes with victory point income. So that's not a bad thing. If that card would have been there, I guess I might have opted to go for that instead. But okay, not complaining about this. But that's basically the end of our action already. So up next, it's Jordan, and he's being controlled by those AI cards, which are very, very easy to follow. I'm a big fan of these kind of things. So let's see what he's up to. We are drawing the topmost card. It's an A card, which is already a good thing. He only does one action on these cards. We are always starting at the top, and only if he is able to reach that particular spot will he do that action. If not, if nothing is in range within 3, then we would move down to the next. In this case, it's relatively easy to do. Let's take this card and let's see if there is something in range. There is. So 1 and 2, here's the symbol that is matching this one. We basically ignore what is printed on this card. Everything that he does is being clarified on the AI card itself. But one thing we are always doing, even for Jordan, is to see if the value of, let's say, the corresponding material will increase, which is the case on this. So there are these symbols on those cards to bring out those tokens also randomly as part of setup. So in this case, we are taking a pearl cube from the supply, adding it to the corresponding track on this treasure island. And what this basically means is, because we are now in the 4 victory point, let's say, region of that treasure island, this means each pearl that you have at the end of the game is currently worth 4 victory points. This can go up and down. Maximum is 5, by the way. Minimum is always 2, but still something where you see, okay, maybe I want to go for pearls. But even the Jordan, the AI player, has, let's say, some logic built into his cards to also typically drives him towards the most valuable resources, that is, if he has the majority in those. But now let's check for the action here. First of all, we are performing an upgrade on his ship. So we're taking one of these neutral cubes and place it on basically leftmost part of his pirate ship. His ship is sailing into a different direction. This is the side for the AI player. For Jordan, we always start from top to bottom. In this case, we are adding this. He immediately gets what it's saying here. In this case, this is already bad news. We are moving the gray cube 1 step to the right, which means all of his explorations, all of his let's say treasure hunts are more powerful in that regard. But this is really the first thing that will happen anyway, so I'm not really surprised that this happens. So this was basically the first icon on this card. The next one is we are simply taking one of these objective cards. We are not looking at those and adding this to his personal supply, and each card is worth, let me check, I believe 5 points. 5 points worth of victory points. Again, he doesn't need to achieve those in any way. It's simply 5 more points we are adding to this. There's also something, if he will be able to collect 6 of those cards, he will get a bonus. That's why we are simply adding those, and that's why it's not saying add 5 points to the victory point total. But that's already the end of his action, and again, I really do appreciate how easy to follow those. Back to us, and even though we are a little bit short on cash, I still want to work towards my objective here. And we have another, let's say, equipment we can buy here. Some rum. Pirates love rum, so we are moving 1 space down here. We are spending 5 coins, getting 1 back. Yes, I do have metal coins, but I didn't bring them down here, unfortunately. So we are buying this. This also gives us a victory point income of 2 at the end of the round, so that's not terrible. It also gives us 1 more, let's say, fighting power. Also somewhat similar to Maracaibo, then again also completely different, because here we are rolling some dice. But again, it's 3 more points. Nothing to sneeze at. Let's replace that. How that we do have a quest hunter also coming with some victory point income, and at the end of the game, for each, I think, 3 completed objectives, or at where we got at least 1 bonus, or we would get 5 victory points for those. Also not terrible, but again, we have to see how the game actually evolves. Okay, back to Jordan, still an A card. I shuffle those well, and he's going for the same action. The question is he able to reach a location within 3? I don't think so. So let's have a look at this card again. He also needs to move at least 1 column closer to Maracaibo doing his move, something that Alex personally confirmed. It's not spelled out in the rules, but I think it's pretty obvious anyway. He wants to try to get another of these quest cards, of these objective cards, but there is nothing. This might be a similar icon, but again, we need to move to a location where this is in action. He's usually moving from location to location, unless he is not, which, for example, down here, which is, I think, the fallback option for Jordan. But again, there's nothing within 3 where he could do the first action here. So we are looking at the second one. And indeed, there is one action where he can go to 1, 2, 3. He's typically moving relatively fast. That's at least what I noticed. And then we are triggering the action. But first of all, we have to add one more emerald. I believe it's an emerald, right? To the corresponding track here on the treasure island of emeralds, and then we are triggering that action here. Again, first of all, we are going for an upgrade of his ship, so we are moving down here. So hooray, he has just scored his very first 1-2 victory point, and I really like the scoring track here, by the way. So these markers fit very, very nicely into that. And then we are triggering the actual action, which means we are moving his explorer down. We are looking at this track here, as he's already upgraded this track, so basically moved 1 step to the right. We are getting a +1. He's always moving the longest path. I really don't know what it is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think he's moving up here. So he's moving 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 1, 2, 3. That's the base. That's coming from the card, from the location Curacao. Sorry, and then he gets a +1 on this. He doesn't care about any of these symbols here. He simply cares about those symbols that is here. So right now he's simply gaining an additional 1, 2, 3 points. Okay, then back to us. My original plan was to actually also go to Curacao here. I could still go there, that's not a problem, but for every ship that is there, you have to pay money. 1 gold doubloon for every ship that is there. Because Jordan doesn't care about doubloons, we are paying this to the supply, but still, I would have to spend my last remaining doubloon. Maybe not necessarily the end of the world, but there is something also quite tasty, which is the island of Trinidad, which would give me some actual treasure. So basically we are pillaging or raiding the location of Trinidad. That's basically what this means. Poor fellas there. So I guess we are going there, right? We would be missing out. No, I think that is fine. 1, 2, 3. We would still add 1 gold cube to the treasure here. So gold is also worth 4 victory points right now. Not unusual that they are starting off relatively evenly. Typically throughout the game you do more, let's say, deliberate choices to drive your favorite goods up, basically your favorite treasure up, obviously. So we have done this. Now we get the upgrade on our ship. And I believe I already forgot to trigger this card. I just noticed that. Oh man, I'm cheating myself. I would have gained a discount on 2 on the rum here, of course. So I will definitely get 2 money back. So we are not completely out of money. Definitely important to remember. That's basically why I did that. But now let's have a closer look at our upgrades. The upgrades on our ship are, let's call it, staged. So we start basically on the leftmost area here of our ship. In order to go into the second section here, we need to have at least 2 cubes in that. Before we go into the third one, we have to have at least 8 to the left of this line, and then here we have the 12. I think you get the idea, right? So we have to start here. This one gives us basically the benefit of the space where our explorer currently is. Right now we would gain 3 gold, but this also means we could simply go for this space, which would give us 3 doubloons. This one, because we are going to raid Trinidad, we could gain 2 more spaces, 1 more fighting point here. Here we could gain another discount. Here would move our explorer 1 step further when it's there. So I guess it's either that or that, honestly, and I think I want some easy money now. So that's our first upgrade. It's an immediate bonus. We simply get 3 more doubloons. Might be a little bit short-sighted, but I think there might be something that we could gain throughout the path for our career. So I think that is good. That is good. So that was our ship upgrade. Next we are actually raiding, and again keep in mind, because of our rum we get a +1 on our raiding value. But now we roll the first dice of the game. Normally I would totally go for my Lego dice tower, but because I have this pirate theme one here from eRaptor, no, they're not sponsoring me, that's something I bought. We are rolling those 3 dice. I get 1 free re-roll, but I have to re-roll them all. And based on what I roll, I have to make a judgment call here. I have a 4, a 3, and a 2. We always want to go for the highest die, that is obvious. They're all equally good or bad, but maybe I can do better. With the 4 here and the +1 here, we would at least gain 1 bonus. So that's not too bad. It could get much worse, and maybe I should consider myself content, because I think it's not getting extremely better. Only if we would roll, yeah, basically a 5 or a 6 on one of those, would I get something out of this. Come on, I'm feeling lucky. We get 1 free reroll, but again we have to re-roll them all, and then I have to live with the result actually. And yeah, I think that this is much better for sure. Question is, do I want pearls, gold, or emeralds? In this case, because they're all worth the same, it doesn't really matter so far. The only thing I may want to check out what's on my player board, actually on my hideout. Pearls are tending to be a little bit more valuable victory point wise, and because they are the same, I will go for the 6, which is now a 7, again because of my rum. And now things start to look a little bit similar to Maracaibo itself. Again, this is a 7. I have these combat actions available to me. In Maracaibo, you would basically, I think, draw this combat tile, and then you get a value. You have to choose which nation you're going for. In this case, you're rolling a die. It's relatively similar. So we have 7 combat points. So we can spend 5 to gain the corresponding treasure, which in this case is a pearl, right? If I would have gone for the yellow one, I would have gained some gold for that, for the 5 points. Then I have still 2 points left. I cannot repeat the same action, so I cannot go for the first column here twice. So I have 2 points left. So I think in this case, we will spend 2 for 3 more coins. That wasn't bad, actually. That wasn't bad. So we have some money. We can buy some more cards, which is not terrible, of course. And then again, for the 5, we are getting 1 pearl. The problem now is we get the treasure from the treasure island. Only if this would have been empty, I would have been allowed to gate that from the supply. So I have, by taking that pearl, I have driven down the value of pearls basically by 1 victory point, because we were already in the 4 range. But again, there are ways, as you could see, to up that throughout the game. But still, I have 1 pearl, which I have to place onto my hideout board. And again, you see the thin little line here. These treasures typically always start on top of the line. And whenever you're getting a buried treasure, actually, you are then allowed to move this down basically underneath, and then you are triggering some more special, let's say, abilities here, like adding more pearls, or increasing the value of the pearls, for example, getting 4 coins, 3 victory points. And also every treasure that you have buried is also worth an additional 2 points at the end of the game. So if I would add this down here, this would be an additional 2 points plus the value of the pearl itself. So I think overall that wasn't a terrible thing to do, but that's basically already the end of my action. Let's move over to Jordan. It's still an A card, and here he's basically going for this or that. I don't, oh, there is actually one where he could go to, yes indeed, which is this one down here, right? 1, 2, 3, it's within 3, and he's also moving closer to Maracaibo, so this is definitely a legal goal. This is great actually, because he is increasing the value of pearls for me. Isn't that lovely? So we are back at 4 victory points. I totally take that. So we have taken care of that. Yeah, then he is doing his ship upgrade. So he's going to get, yeah, basically taking a figurehead away from us. And I think in this case, we are simply rolling a die. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in a 2. On a solo game, you only have 3 of those available. And he's never doing anything with that. It's basically just here to annoy me. So that's basically this one here. Not sure if I care about it. That's another discount on card. That's not bad, actually. That's not bad. But still, he has taken this away, and now he's adding this to his ship, and that's basically it. He simply has taken this away. That was only the ship upgrade action, though. And normally, this action would allow you, a human player, to basically buy any of those upgrades or crew cards anywhere on the map for an additional fine of 3, though, but it's still pretty good. If there is something appeared that can up for him, he doesn't really care about this one. He would simply take the topmost card from the level 2 tier, and I think this is simply worth 6 points. So each of those improvement cards is 6 points worth to him. It's not really taking things away from you. Back to us, and as we now have some money, I'm really thinking about going for the compass, which you would gain for 3. Keep in mind, we have our discount. It's worth 3 points. It's giving us 2 more victory points income, and it's helping us basically for this. So we have then fulfilled this first thing here. So I guess that's no brainer. Yeah, let's do that. So we're moving 1, 2 spaces onto this. We are spending the 3 coins from our supply. We still have some money here. We take this, and this gives us basically a 4th combat ability. So for 3, we could gain 5 coins, and we would be allowed to add 1 cube to the treasure island, basically increasing the value of a specific treasure, which is definitely nice. Could be pearls, for example. So yeah, let's totally grab this card. We will immediately replace it with another level 2. This is now a ship upgrade, the Roaring Surf, also an end of game scoring card. This would be perfect for us, actually, because for each of those upgrades we would gain 2 victory points. That's already 6 more points if we would get this card, and it's also a victory point. Ooh, that's a nasty one for us to get. Let's see about that. Okie dokie, back to Jordan, and this is now the first B card. There is only 1 B card in the deck. He always gets the bonus. That's something that he's doing immediately, which is basically an additional exploring action for 4 points. 1, 2, 3, 4. I think he's moving down here. I think this has more steps than it, and then he will do 1, 2, 3 more points, so he's already at 8, but that's not his actual action. No, he will now grab 1 card away here, and his first priority will be a crew card, and there is 1 basically here and here. If there is a tie, I think he will go to the topmost. He will always move the farthest out he can do. In this case, I think he cannot do this one here in the Gulf. No, I think he will go to the captain, which he will simply grab. So it's 6 more points, and we will reveal a replacement card, and that's a deckhand, which gives you an immediate explore action and also victory point income of 1 and 6 points at the end of the game. So nothing to sneeze at here either. But that's already the end of his action. Again, I really love how smooth Jordan is to play. I really do appreciate that. So now we have a call to make. We could move directly into the Gulf, which I believe would also grant us the 6 victory points here. On the other hand, we could go for the deckhand here, but then we have to spend 1 coin. We could go for the helmsman, which would also give us two coins actually income, which is also not terrible because the round is over. The problem really is, do we want to give him the 6 points here or not? And I think let's not do that. No, I think we will go. You see the green hand, typical for Alexander Pfister. We basically have to stop here. And this means we first get one ship upgrade. And I think in this case we want to go for the discount one. Or should we go for another objective card? Because we have already kind of achieved the first one, at least the minimum amount. We could still say, no, let's go for the 7 points instead. No, let's go for the discount here first. And now we have 2 cubes here, which means with our next cubes, we could go into the second region here. But of course, we couldn't continue to whatever fill up our upgrades here on the left-hand side as well. So this was our free ship upgrade. And then we can either do another raid action with a +2 on our thing. We can go for, oh, this is also tempting, for another exploration. Or we can, I believe, claim one of these residences. The problem is I don't think that we can afford that, quite honestly. And maybe it's also time to look at which of those we want to achieve, or which residences do we want to plan for. And I think when we are looking at the Citadel here, it costs us 18 or -3 now, because we have 2 discounts already. We would gain 4 points for each of those equipment cards, and we have already 3. That's 12 points, plus the 2 here if we are first, of course. And these cards are simply worth 15 points for these residences, are 15 points for Jordan, by the way. Definitely quite nasty. But again, we can't afford it anyway. So it's either a raid, and we just upgraded our raid, or we have received the compass here. And the +2 plus the 1 we get from the rum, I think that's what we are going to do, right? Yeah, let's raid something. I mean, we are pirates after all. Let's roll those 3 dice. Okay, 6 on emeralds. I mean, that is pretty solid, right? We get a plus, so we have 8 points to spend in total, right? No, 9 points to spend. Yeah, no, let's not reroll those. Let's take this one and let's see what we do about this. Again, we have the +1 here, plus the 2 from the core action, so we have 9 points. We definitely want to do that, right? So we are spending the 3 extra points we got basically for 5 coins. I mean, that is pretty massive. 5 coins, did I say that? And then we are adding 1 cube to any of the treasure tracks, and I think I want to do that for pearls right now. No, let's go for the emeralds actually, because we are taking one of these emeralds away in just a second, and in theory we can do that right now. So we still have the 6 full points here. For 5 of these points, pips, we are taking 1 emerald, which we are adding here. It has a space here, and this immediately gives us our first 1-2 victory points. We are on the map. Hooray! But of course, we still have 1 more pip remaining, and for that extra pip, we are simply connecting another point. Nicely done. Over to Jordan, and whatever he's doing, he has to move to the Gulf space here. So maybe this card doesn't give us anything, but yes, he does. Though that's definitely possible. He will move on to the Gulf. It's not a card, which means we are not getting the extra coin, unfortunately. He still gets the ship upgrade. He's really doing those like crazy, and therefore he's getting another of these, I think, objective cards. Again, that's another 5 points for Jordan. Then he's also going to raid, but for him things work a little bit differently. First of all, we are checking where his basically progress cube is. He's on this column, which means he will simply collect 2 victory points, 1 and 2, and then we are rolling 1 die here to determine which of those treasures he's taking from the corresponding islands, that is. So let's bring out the dice tower. You should be able to see that. Doesn't matter which color we are using, that's the one, which means he's taking a gold one, and I think I'm okay with that, because right now I'm not really invested in gold. So we're adding this, and he will simply take this into his hideout board, which is also the backside of a player hideout board, so works a little bit differently than ours. And again, for now, this is basically worth 3 points for him at the end of the game. So then it's basically back to us. We don't have any choice. We will have to sail to Maracaibo. Therefore, we will score 6 more points. So we are moving up to 9, and we also get a ship upgrade. This marker here is basically only reminding ourselves that at the end of the third round, basically, Jordan will to get the last turn. So there is some, let's say, yeah, basically equal number of turns. Let's, to some extent at least for the very last round. So what ship upgrade are we going to get? And I think we may want to go for this one here, because this is about to trigger in a second. So we will score all our victory points income basically another time. I think that's a no-brainer. Let's totally do that. We could also go for the figurehead though. So for 3 coins, okay, let's see about that. Let's slow down a little bit. So we could go for either of those figureheads. This is an immediate thing, which would give us 3 similar, yeah, I'm not sure if this is worth. Could be a lot of points in the end, but it will also drive down the value. So if we go for gold now, actually, we would penalize Jordan to some extent. And here we get another combat action. So for 3 would gain 6 more coins. Also not terrible. I think because we are triggering this no, might be a little bit short-sighted actually, but I think I will go for this ship upgrade here instead. Okay, that's basically the end of the round. The last thing to do is the income. Right now the only income we have are those victory points. So we get 2 points here, 2 points here, plus 4 points here. Again, we are triggering all those things again. So that's 8 points in total. That is not nothing, bringing us to 17 points in total. So we are actually in the lead as of round 1, or basically round 2. That isn't terrible at all. Now Maracaibo, like, we take all those ships and beam them back to the start of the Caribbean, and then Jordan will basically start the second round. But I think for today I will end my playthrough here. I think you have seen, I think, really a lot that's already possible in this game. Of course, there are a ton more cards in this deck. I think there are more cards in the 1 pile. We have still a huge pile of these 2 cards here. For the most part, there, yes, of course, they're doing very similar things, like giving you extra combat power or extra movement steps. But still, there's a lot of variety and replayability in this game here for sure. I'm relatively certain, and I will continue this playthrough for sure, that in the second episode I will finish that. I think I have explained again most of the mechanics in the game, so from now on things should move much quicker. And yeah, basically giving you some room to whatever, make me aware of any rule scoofs, for example. Let me know what you think in respect of what I should be doing next. Always grateful for some tips in respect to strategy or tactics. Definitely let me know. And yeah, before I forget, a huge shout out to all of my patrons and channel members out there. You guys are truly amazing, and I think you know you are. So if you want to support my little channel, you will find a link to my page on Patreon. You can join me here directly on YouTube. There is a little thanks button below the video. Also like and subscribe, leave a comment. This greatly helps the channel as well. And yeah, with that being said, hope to see you soon in one of my other videos, and until then, bye bye.